All right, Shalom. Giving our praise, glory, and honors unto Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua by Hashem Kodash. Double honors to the apostles, elder bishops, the great millstone. Peace and blessings to the 144,000 rest home for elect out there. This is your brother, the priest, is I1 from GMS Atlanta, back with another edifying video. And yes, this is another video on the Motb. Another video pertaining to Revelation 13 and 16 because it's relevant. You know, a lot of information is coming out. You know, there's a lot of topics, a lot of things to go into. But Spirit is on me to go into this. So this is Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16. It says, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads." And over the last few days, from the different news reports that have come out and the different articles that I've read, there's a heavy emphasis being put on causing all people from different walks of life to be tied into this digital ID system. And there's plans for it. There's an agenda to get all these citizens that have not been able, you know, whether they've been homeless, whether they've been poor, they haven't been able to really get any kind of services from the government to be a part of their society. But now, with this digital system being set up, now these scattered and disenfranchised populations are now going to be given access to get help from the government. And that's why I wanted to go into this and read this verse, because it's very pertinent to the information. It's very important. So what I have here, this is digital ID solutions for displaced populations addressed at the UN. Now, you know, they had the UN meeting, and Trump and Netanyahu made their speeches, and when Netanyahu went up to speak, many of those that were there at the UN meeting, they walked up and left out. You know, or they got up and left out, you know, and walked out. Because the whole world is waking up to who the devil is. The whole world is waking up to you Edomites. And when you look at the video, when you look at the clip, matter of fact, let me just pull that up. UN walkout. The whole world is waking up to, you know, to you devils, man. It says dozens of United Nations delegates walked out of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's speech at the UN General Assembly on September 26, 2025, in protest of the ongoing war in Gaza. This was the second consecutive year that delegates staged a walkout during Netanyahu's address. So they're not for you you small hats, right? And when you look at the video, and it's a clip, you will see that the majority of the nations that walked out were mainly dark-skinned nations, you know, the different dark peoples of the world, right? And it's going to read them out here. So it says the walkout. More than 100 diplomats from over 50 countries participated in the walkout. Countries that walked out or were absent including representatives from Arab, Muslim majority, African, Latin American, and some European nations, including Spain and Ireland. A full list released by the Israeli government mentioned 77 countries. So there's videos, right? And when you watch it, man, these nations, hey, that goes back to the scripture in Obadiah, you know, about how these nations are going to look upon Esau, okay? You are despised, all right? Watch walkout of delegates during Netanyahu's UN address. Diplomats walk out as Israeli Prime Minister speaks. Dozens walk out of UN as Netanyahu speaks. And then when you look at these nations, let me see if I can get a good image here. They said some European nations. Here we go. But when you look at the image here, the majority of the nations that are walking out, these other nations, these dark nations, because they're finding out that the so-called white man is a damn devil, and they're committing G-side over there in Gaza. All right, unaliving those civilians. So I just want to bring this out, man. You know, you Edomites, it's time for you to be taken out of power. Here's a better image here. You see all these dark nations walking out, some from Arab countries, some from African countries, walking out as this guy Netanyahu speaks. So Esau, you're losing your grip and your power in the world. That's why he's trying to set up this digital ID system to cement his place on the throne. But we know that Yahweh Bashar Shai is going to destroy this man's system, especially when they introduce the Motb, the implant. Once they start to micro-hip the people, then that's going to be the end. The destruction of Babylon the Great will come soon after. So this here, once again, back in the article, digital ID solutions for displaced populations addressed at UN. So besides that walkout, they talked about the digital ID. Invisible Billion panel spotlights Civita's ID routes and challenges. So let's look into this. So it says Civita's ID, the digital identity platform developed for displaced populations, launched during the 80th session of the UN General Assembly in New York. At the landmark gathering, Colin Walsh, founder of Civita's ID, Amit Sharma, head of digital strategy IDEMIA, and Kizom Ngodup Masali, head of digital and AI programs UNDP, were on hand to talk through the new digital ID. Sharma sits on Civita's ID's Global Advisory Council. So remember, this digital ID thing is for the whole planet, all right, all around the globe. Okay? So it says the Invisible Billion, bridging the global identity divide. Panel, okay, let me read that again. The Invisible Billion, bridging the global identity divide panel addressed the more than 123 million displaced people who currently face barriers to economic participation due to documentation gaps, according to the organization. And this is why I read Revelation 13 and 16, because the plan is to give all the people this mark no matter your status. If you're poor, if you are having economic issues in your country, maybe on these different islands, then they want to introduce the digital ID to you so you can be a part of the bigger global plan. All right, Revelation 13 and 16. This prophecy is becoming more and more clear. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. And that mark will eventually be cut into the flesh and implant a device under the skin, or like the Neuralink is being placed in the minds of different people in these human trials. That will also be introduced as well. Okay? Verse 17, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So in order for you to participate in society, you're going to have to get that implant. All right? But now they're setting up this digital ID system to where these different peoples who have been, as they say here, displaced, they can be attached to it. So it says the visibility crisis is really one of the most profound issues of our time, Walsh said. War or conflict, a fire or other natural disaster, the increased severity and frequency of such events like flooding or storms cause humans to leave these areas quickly and often with little time to prepare. So this is the excuse that they're using. This is the catalyst that they're using to introduce this system because of these disasters. And when such people have to cross borders, they find themselves without identity documents to prove who they are, unable to access basic services, and left in limbo. And you have a lot of different refugees from different countries that are war-torn, especially over the last 10 to 15 years, 20 years or so. So this is their solution. It says, this is the invisibility crisis, and it's what Savita's ID hopes to help resolve. Masali noted that this crisis is being experienced by millions all over the world. Like many other living things with whom we share this planet, humans have to move and migrate in search of safer conditions for food and shelter, and to seek conditions that can support flourishing. But people who cross borders face different jurisdictions, which creates invisibility. And so basically they can't track people. It's becoming harder and harder for them to with this old world system, to track all these different people, these different men, women, and children that because of their doing, because of Esau's destroying the damn earth, because of their doing, these people are moving around. And they can't keep up with people needing certain documents and help and money, food and shelter. So they're creating this system with digital credentials that will identify everybody that's coming through these borders and citizens of these different countries. See, we've been telling you the right thing the whole time. Like I said, Revelation 13 and 16 is becoming more and more clear now. Listen to what they're saying. It says, one moment when you have identity and another moment when you don't, the UNDP head said. Masali has personal experience of this, sharing that for the first 17 years of her life, she herself was an invisible person, a refugee. I remember having my first identity and feeling like, my God, I exist, and it means so much, Masali said. So this is their excuse, as if you didn't exist without it, But they want the people to feel like once you get tied into their system, now you can say you're a citizen, That's why people are going to be feeling guilty when they introduce their implant. And if you don't take it, then you're going to be ostracized from society. But then you're going to have people that are going to feel guilty because they're going to see their friends and family that are taking the Motb all right, and they're going to be tied to the digital ID system. They're going to want to take it, and if you're not the elect, then those people are going to take it, get implanted. So this is what she's saying. She's saying, I feel like I exist because I'm a part of the system now. So that's pulling on your emotional heartstrings. But we know what all of this is leading up to. Okay? And a lot of people do too. But we Israelites, we have to break this down so the hopeful elect can be warned. That's why we're constantly getting on IUI, CIGBK, and these other groups 90. About saying that the mark is not the chip, because that's what's going to be detrimental to the salvation of our people. Saying that it's sin and believing in this man's system and it's your action and what you think in your mind. No, that's not it. They're literally listen. They're not setting up a system to where, do you believe? No, it's not about belief. It's about, listen, if you take this device, they don't care. Esau's not spiritual. He's carnal. So he wants you to have a carnal device, a physical device, so you can do what? Buy and sell. You can't buy and sell with belief now. But if you sin, and if you didn't wear your fringes today, then you can buy and sell. What the hell is IUIC talking about? But they want to sneak in and slide in the digital ID system now to make it seem as if they're up on game when they're just really, I believe that they're watching, it's my belief that they're watching the different GMS videos from the apostles on down, but they don't want to admit that the mark is the implant. And there's, of course, some of them sold out, so they can't mention it. But that's why the true prophets are warning them, and we're cursing out these false prophets, because they're going to lead you Israelites to destruction. The only ones that got the Bible right is Great Millstone, period. The best thing for these other Israelites, teachers out here to do is to, number one, repent, admit you've been teaching it wrong, and then teach it the way we teach it here. Because if they follow you guys, our people gonna die. And you are too. Ezekiel talks about those that don't give the correct warning from the Lord. So we're trying to keep the blood off our hands, man. Okay? They're setting this society up to tie everybody to the digital ID. Okay? Let's see here. So check this out. This is under Learning from Colombia, cross-border data sharing. Walsh emphasized that Civita's ID is not looking to create a parallel identity. The founder spoke about a recent trip to Colombia where there is a significant number of Venezuelans who have identity documents, but they need credentials in order to engage in society. Even though they have certain documents, they still need the proper credentials. But they're setting up biometrics down there in Brazil and other countries in South America, digital ID and digital wallets, which is going to eventually tie to the microchip implant. So the same thing that they're saying, I said this, the same thing that they're doing in the UK is just that the UK said it publicly. But they've been doing this, setting this up for years. I've been doing videos on this topic for the last 5 years, maybe 6 or 7. Even before the pandemic, this has been a topic. But as the years go on and time goes on, prophecy gets revealed and manifested. So now we're seeing it. Okay? When you read back at the 2nd chapter, what does it say? It says, though it tarry, wait for it will not tarry. So we here at GMS, we're patient. We see these things coming on the scene before you other Israelites see it. And now you got to play catch up with your videos and your lessons and your doctrine. But the Lord is only going to open the eyes to his chosen. So, we're just doing our job. So let me read this again. It says, the founder spoke about a recent trip to Colombia, South America, where there is a significant number of Venezuelans, South America, who have identity documents. But they need credentials in order to engage in society. You're going to need the Motb Implant in order to engage in society. You're going to need to be a part of the digital ID system in order to engage in society. Okay? This is what Starmer, coming out of the UK, this is what he was saying last week. Okay? It says, but they need credentials in order to engage in society by opening their own businesses and to work. To what? Buy and sell. Businesses. What do businesses do? Businesses sell product, right? Well, you're going to need the right credentials in order to sell, in order to buy, right? It says, but they need credentials in order to engage in society by opening their own businesses and to work, but need those credentials integrated into the digital public infrastructure of the country they find themselves in. So these different immigrants and refugees, and they're the beginning. These illegal immigrants are going to be the beginning of setting up the Motb system by classes. And then it's going to go to the, if there's another medical crisis where all you nurses, you're going to need to be a part of the digital identity system. All right, all you law enforcement officers, military, you're going to have to be a part of the digital identity system. And then for us regular 9-to-5 workers, we're also going to need it. And then once the digital ID system is set up, which we're pretty much already using certain digital credentials now, but it's going to be in a central database, depending on the country you're in, America, the UK, wherever. Then they're going to introduce the mark, the implant. And that's when you don't take that device. The digital ID is not the mark of the beast, but the system is, the digital ID system is what the mark of the beast, which is the implant, is going to be based upon. The implant is going to utilize the digital ID system. All right. It says, so that they can be unlocked instantly through a localized portable digital wallet that carries those credentials for them. You will not be able to buy and sell without the digital ID credentials. It's really this credentialing capability that unlocks access to this essential services is what Civitas ID is all about, explained Walsh. Invited to bring up a case study, Walsh elaborated on Colombia, describing a progressive policy in welcoming migrants. Why do you think eventually Trump and them is going to let these Latin tribes back up here? They kick them out, set up the biometrics, upgraded biometric system at the border, digital ID. Okay, now y'all can come back. Y'all don't understand the game that's being played in front of your eyes because the majority of you are lost. That's why the Lord has set us up, the prophets, to wake you up. This is what really being woke is. All right, that whole being woke, that started with the Israelites, by the way. Because we're waking up you so-called black, Hispanics, and Native Americans to who you really are as the 12 tribes of Israel. So it's all about these migrants with this digital ID system right now. All right. So it says welcoming migrants, but that barriers are numerous in reality. from operational ones to the lack of employment and credit history for the new arrivals. So we have to help them reconstitute that, and then work with partners that have digital wallets for payments and remittances, that can make loans, that can offer business access and other things, Watt said. And it's going to be more than just the land tribes. This system is going to be for the rest of you nations too. Coming from China, coming from Europe, coming from Asia, coming from Africa, you're going to need a digital ID, digital wallet to set your businesses up, your laundromats, your gas stations, your hotels, your motels, all these different businesses that these heathen nations have, your little grocery stores. You're going to have to be a part of the digital ID in whatever country you're coming to. This illegal migrant system, which is something that's really happening worldwide and has been going on for years, but that's just the first catalyst to setting this digital ID up. It says building a platform to create those identity credentials and integrating with such providers to enable substantial amounts of the population to engage economically is part of the mission. So we're seeing it. We're seeing all of this happening, but it ties into prophecy, right? Revelation 13 and 16 again. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Okay? Now let's go to, and I've been going into this a lot lately. I went into it yesterday, but it's relevant because at this point, this is what we're seeing. So this is Habakkuk, the second chapter, verse 3. I started verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak. So the prophecy I read in Revelation 13, that is a vision that is set up for the appointed time, which is now, because we're in the end. It says, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. And now we're seeing that everything that we've been saying here at GMS is coming to pass. Okay? Verse 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him. And we know that's talking about the wicked. They're the ones that is being lifted up. The Edomites, they're lifted up, and their system is the ones that is the one that's ruling over the earth right now. But the just shall live by his faith, which is why when they finally introduce the actual biometric microchip implant, the just, the elect that live by faith are not going to take it. That's why Revelation 14 and 12 is going to be so important, because it says, here are they that keep the commandments of the Lord. I'm just roughly paraphrasing, and that keep the faith in Yahweh Shai. That's talking about the Israelites. It's not talking about you Christians. It's not talking about you patriotic Americans. No, it's talking about the Israelites that have this gospel, this true gospel, that the prophets of the Israelites are speaking. Verse 5. Yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. And we're seeing that these other nations are being hit with war in their country, so they got to move around and leave. Meanwhile, who's coming up in these war-torn countries? The Edomites setting up their military forces, their bases, their embassies, and setting up these puppet leaders in these governments, because the influence of Esau doesn't keep him at home. It says, who enlarges his desire is hell and is as death. This is why they walked out of the UN on Netanyahu when he was speaking, because they see that this man is as death and he's proud, and they can't see that they're the devil. but the world sees it. It says, and it is death and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations. And how is he doing that? Through the digital ID. And heapeth unto him all people. How is he doing that? Through the digital ID and eventually the implant. Okay? So the vision of the mark of the beast is speaking right now. They're definitely moving on fulfilling Revelation 13 and 16. First, they're setting up the digital ID system. Then eventually they're going to introduce the mark that goes in the right hand or in the forehead. But all the people around the world, small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, they're eventually going to have to get those credentials. Okay? I'm going to leave off with one more scripture. 2 Corinthians chapter 2. And don't just, listen to me. I mean, I'm putting the information and the articles on the screen, but look it up yourself and read more into these articles, get edified and be warned and be like the Church of Berea. Look up these scriptures. See whether or not what I'm saying is true for yourself. I know what I'm saying is true, but you have to see it. If you're of the elect. I'm just doing the work of the Lord to spark your mind, spark your spirit, to get you ready and prepared for the return of Yahweh Shai. So you'll know what is coming down the pipeline. So this is 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. We're not ignorant to what these devils that work in the power of Satan, spiritual demons, say. We're not ignorant to what they're doing. All right? Now, they have an advantage over the majority of people, but like I said, if you've been paying attention, if you look these things up, if you get this information in your spirit for yourself and your mind for yourself, then you'll be on the right side. Okay? But we see the plans. All right, those of us who are hopeful elect, those of us that believe in Yahweh Shai, we see the plans that these Edomites are doing, and they're trying to close in and lock this planet down through these digital credentials. But what is Yahweh Shai going to do? Yahweh Shai is going to deliver his elect from, as the scripture says, from the snare of the fowler. So with that, I hope this lesson was edifying. Shalom.